some hidden gems, some names to watch, some props, and all that good stuff. Jeff Nadu, BarstoolSports.com. Big college basketball article he's got up right now at BarstoolSports.com. Check out BMOC and read his college basketball insight. We're going to dig a little deep here. Some second-rounders, some late picks, some Sixer guys to keep an eye on with that 21st pick, and then 4 picks in the second round. I could do NBA draft, college basketball talk all year long. All year long. I love college basketball. I love the NBA draft.
I'm with you.
You with me on that?
I am with you. I'm a college basketballsman. I am. I definitely prefer the style of play. No, I don't. And I think that's a good thing, though. I don't get, emotionally tied. I just appreciate it for what it is.
I get stuck into those Big 12 games.
Well, you're a West
Virginia guy. Yeah, I love the kid Bain. TCU, he lights it up, man. He lit us up a couple times. Let's get Jeff's take. He knows guys from the Big 12 all the way down to the Ivy.
Even with that defense, though?
Although there is no Ivy.
Come on. You're getting lit up after playing that type of defense?
Who?
West Virginia.
Nah, we got great defense. Press Virginia, baby.
Well,
could be a good team this year.
You just said Bain could do some damage.
I'm not saying against West. Oh, he's had a game or two against West Virginia. All right, let's bring Jeff in. I know Jeff likes the Mountaineers this year. I like when you use the Bob Huggins memes. Gets me going.
One of my favorite coaches in the country. When I'm Bob Huggins' age, I figure I'll act a lot like him. He wears the same sweatsuits I do. Big fan of Bob. I'm very happy to hear you're a West Virginia fan, Mike.
A proud alum, by the way. Yes, and I yearn to wear his outfits, too. In fact, I have most of his outfits in my closet. I just don't wear them every day, but I have them waiting for the day. Let's get your take tonight. It's an interesting draft. Let's get your take first on the draft as a whole. The years past, Jeff, there's been the signature guys, the big names. Top of this draft seems like it's a 3-player draft, but overall, how do you feel about the depth 1 through 60?
I think it's quite good. I think a lot of people, you don't see that big name. There's no necessarily LeBron James or someone like that in this draft, but I think there could be. I think there's a lot of really, really good players. I think the European group this year is quite good. And I think, as far as deep, I think it's as deep a draft as you'll find as far as just quality college players. I mean, you look at, a kid like Cassius Winston from Michigan State, Peyton Pritchard up at Oregon, guy like Killian Tilly out at Gonzaga. I mean, these are guys that won't go until the second round. I think this is a basketball lover's dream. If you actually know these players and you spend a lot of time, there's a lot of really good guards in this draft. It's a sleepy good draft for scorers as well. A lot of guys that, can fill it up. A guy like Malachi Flynn at San Diego State or Paul Reed up at DePaul. There's a lot of really good players. So I'm very happy. It's obviously a few months later, but it gives you something to do on a random Wednesday, November night.
Hey, man, we need something to get our attention off the Eagles. This draft comes on the perfect day at the perfect time, I think, the way this Eagles season has gone. But they do have the 21st pick in the draft. Do you like being in that area of the draft, 21, with the ability to move? They got 4 second-rounders, so they can move, but do you like being where they are this year?
Well, look, I mean, you'd always like to be higher. And obviously, I think at the level of failure they've had in the playoffs, you really have gotten not much out of it. But that's outside of the process years. Even, look at the Eagles. I mean, that's kind of where they are seemingly every year in the 20s. That's the price you pay for, a first-round exit in the playoffs. Mike, you get, the 21, the 23rd pick. But I think in this draft, there's some real gems at that 21 mark. Look, the best player, I think, at that point that will be available is going to be Tyrell Terry. And I think outside of Aaron Naismith from Vanderbilt, I think Terry is the best shooter in this draft. Look, there's been a lot of comparisons I've seen drawn to C.J. McCollum. He's got a real good frame, a lot of upside as far as, his body developing. I mean, he's still a young kid. I mean, he's, 20, just over 20 years old. He just turned 20 last month. So, this is a kid, while he doesn't have great size, I think he could be a real marksman from 3. He's a little bit bigger than J.J. Redick. If you look at J.J., one of his issues throughout his career was defensively. He doesn't necessarily match up with a lot of guards, but he's got the ability to push up the floor, get into the lane, but he's really going to create from the three-point line. He's not going to be an overpowering kid, but he's got sneaky athleticism. He can rebound the basketball, kind of a fearless demeanor. There's a lot to like about him. I am very high on Tyrell Terry. He's, again, not a strength guy. He's not overpowering, but I think he's got some real ability from the three-point line. They desperately need that.
Now, they had the 4 picks in the second round, but 2 picks in the 30s. So, knowing as much as you do in terms of the depth of this draft, do you recommend, would you like staying and taking 4 guys or maybe rolling those picks into another first-round pick?
You know, that's always the million-dollar question, but those are difficult to pull off. You know, I've maligned this team, Mike, over the years of their inability to draft in the second round. And I've lauded the Miami Heat for their ability to do that. They have built a very good bench and role player group through the NBA draft. And you can find countless players in this league that were built in the second round, especially in the 30s, and they have 2 picks right out of the first round. There's some really good players that, for whatever reason, have fallen off. You look at a kid like Jamias Ramsey out of Texas Tech. When I first put out an NBA mock, I had him going 24 at the time to the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, they're no longer selecting there, but you know, this is a kid that there's a first-round pick, Daniel Oturu out of Minnesota. They need to go out and find an heir apparent. If they're going to obviously kind of look to move on from Al Horford, they need to get younger. They need some guys that could come in off the bench and spell Joel Embiid if he's here. You look at a kid like Oturu, a real gem, really had a great season last year in the Big Ten, 21 and 11, 2.5 blocks a game, got elite jumping and length. I think he's a guy that really could turn into a solid player in this league. Look, this is no knock to a guy like Norvel Pell, but I'm not sure he's the first guy you want off the bench. I think, you know, a guy like Oturu's there, but they have to strike in the second round, Mike. That's where you build your bench. You got to go out and find some heir apparents at the guard position. So whether it's Terry, you maybe a Peyton Pritchard from Oregon. You let McConnell go, basically allowed him to walk. Peyton Pritchard is about as close to McConnell as you'll get. I think he's a little bit more talented offensively on that side of the ball when it comes to McConnell.
All right. What about, we're talking with Jeff Nadu, Barstool Sports, great college basketball mind. Second-round guys, second-round gems that you think could be intriguing with those picks coming out in that spot there, and maybe even a little deeper because they have the 4 picks. You would think that, you know, there could be some interesting names, you know, for them to be had in those areas.
Yeah, you know, I think a guy that is, you know, probably a first-round pick if he weren't injured as much as he was, Killian Tilly out of Gonzaga, French kid, had some really good seasons with the Bulldogs when he was there. You talk about an elite floor general on the defensive side. That's one thing the Zags are going to really miss this year. He's a real coordinator on that side of the ball. He's got a real nice touch around the rim. He's got some ready-made offensive ability. You look at the kids now that are coming from Europe. A lot of them have the ability to go out and pick and pop. A lot of the bigs. He's good off the dribble. Killian Tilly's a 5-tool player as far as a big's concerned. He can go out and knock shots down. Another kid you'll see probably in the 50s, more towards the high 50s, Sam Merrill, a kid out of Utah State. You talk about a real sharpshooter. This kid could turn into quite the player. Kind of has that Duncan Robinson feel to him, a real marksman from 3, a cold-blooded shooter. I think he's the kid that's going to get some real garnerment late in his draft because he's 6'5". He can play the off ball. I really liked what I saw from him when he was with the Aggies at Utah State. There's just talent up and down this draft, Mike, really wherever you go. I mentioned Cassius Winston, a kid that played all 4 years at Michigan State. And, you know, one thing about him that I've always really respected is he's been through some real tough times in his life. His brother passed away last year to suicide. He had to go through some real tough times. I think it's built him into quite the man off the court. He's a 4-tool player. He can handle the point guard position, can shoot, can play defense. Cassius Winston is a terrific player. One other one, I've heard a lot of comparisons to Xavier Tillman at Michigan State to Draymond Green. It might be a little premature knowing that they went to the same university, but he is a really interesting player. Can fill it up. He's a real tough kid on the defensive side of the ball. He's bigger than Draymond Green. He's got a great wingspan. He could instantly solve some defensive issues for a lot of teams. You want a guy, Mike, when you're going to get this 6'7", 6'8" player, you want him to turn into a player that can guard the best player on the other team. So when you look at Iguodala, you look at Tony Allen many years ago, you look at Draymond, I think Xavier Tillman could be that guy at the next level.
All right, Jeff, top 10 in this draft. Give me a thought on what the top 10 looks like in tonight's draft, because I think those top 3, they're going to go in some order, and then after that it gets a little murky.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I have the top 3 figured out pretty easily. I would go Edwards, Wiseman at 2, Ball at 3. Charlotte's a team. Michael Jordan, I think, kind of sees that they need to spruce that basketball team up a little bit. LaMelo will sell tickets instantly. He also has a weird kind of background with LaMelo Ball or LeVar Ball, if you remember that kind of off the court stuff. Number 4, Bulls, I would go Obi Toppin. 5, I would go look, Patrick Williams is flying up this board. I think he could help them, kind of a 3-4 hybrid. 6, I would go Isaac Okoro out of Auburn University. I think you make the case, Mike, he is the best defender in this draft, just an elite defender. Atlanta really needs a defensive 2. Number 7, I would go Killian Hayes out of France. Mike, think Manu Ginobili. He is the exact same player as Manu was. Pistons could use that, plus he's left-handed, kind of interesting. Number 8, New York Knicks. I thought Tyrese Halliburton or Devin Vassell here. It really depends what they want. Do they want the 3-and-D guy with Vassell, or do they go Halliburton with the point guard? Number 9, Onyeka Okongwu for the Wizards. Okongwu is falling down boards a little bit. I think he's a terrific player, but there's injury concerns with him. And then you got the Phoenix Suns who, I mean, Mike, the Phoenix Suns, you got to start looking at this team to really be a sleeper this season in the NBA. They are going to be very good with Chris Paul there. I think they look towards maybe someone to kind of come in and spell Devin Booker, who can maybe play the 3 as well. Think Tyrese Maxey or maybe Sadiq Bey, the kid out of Villanova.
Yep, it's an interesting Vassell. I like in that spot for the Suns. I agree with you on them being a very interesting. They were getting a lot better at the end of that year. Adding a veteran like Paul makes them really interesting. A couple guys you don't like.
It's funny. I would go Halliburton. I'm not a big fan of Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State. I'm sure, being a West Virginia guy, you saw him. There's a lot of a lot of Alonzo Ball to Tyrese Halliburton. I just don't think he's a real overpowering player. I don't know if he has the moxie to defend at the next level. He's kind of undersized. Just something kind of bothered me with him. I didn't love his ability to shoot the ball either. Just kind of a weird, wonky player to me. I don't know what it was. Just kind of felt like Lonzo Ball to me. And look, I'm not saying Lonzo's not a great player, but I don't know that he panned out kind of how a lot of people thought he would. But yeah, I would probably look Tyrese Halliburton. I also have mentioned Cole Anthony. The Sixers have been linked to Cole Anthony. I've not heard a lot of great things coming out of him kind of off the court. From what I understand, he's a me guy. It's all about him a lot of the time. I just don't know that I really want him. It could be meaning that he's aggressive and if he can kind of get past it, I think he could be a solid player. He's also coming off an injury. I'm not a huge fan of him, so I would kind of throw him in as well. Not a big Cole Anthony guy.
All right. If anybody out there, Jeff Nadu, BarstoolSports.com, was looking to do a couple prop bets tonight. Do you have a couple props that are sticking out to you for people to get in on?
Yeah, obviously this market moves a lot, the prop market. I will tell you, and this to any gambler out there that wants to gamble on props, the truth of the matter, Mike, is if you're not willing to lay prices, you're not going to win. You're taking shots in prop betting, particularly in drafts. You're not going to get the job done. You're taking flyers on. A lot of the time, laying money will win. So, look, you're going to have to lay prices. Look, the truth of the matter, Mike, is the Golden State Warriors are going to take James Wiseman. As long as he doesn't go number one, they will take James Wiseman. I would lay 310 there. And I know a lot of people say, I don't want to lay 310. But, look, the truth of the matter is sharps are laying 310. As far as something, I'm really high on Killian Hayes. I think under 8.5 has value. It's a plus money price. I do believe he is the best overall player in this draft. Like I said, I think he could really fit with Detroit at 7. Maybe Cleveland takes a flyer. I think he has some value at plus money. But this is tough. I mean, obviously the first 4, maybe an exact order prop there. But the truth of the matter, Mike, is if you're not laying money with props, you're not going to win. It's pretty simple.
All right, Jeff Nadu, Barstool Sports, the NBA draft. Make sure you get to barstoolsports.com and check out his college basketball preview for the upcoming season, which is almost here. Jeff joins me Saturday morning at 9 o'clock as we take a look at the college football card and the NFL plays of the weekend. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Jeff, enjoy the draft tonight, man.
Hey, Mike, can I one more second? One more guy?
Yep, go for it.
If the Sixers do go big, if they do go big tonight, I pray they look at Isaiah Stewart out of Washington. Mike, when I say this, I mean this. He is the closest thing to Ben Wallace we will see, but he's better offensively. He is an elite rebounder. He is an elite shot blocker. He's my favorite player in this entire draft. Think Antonio Davis. Think Ben Wallace. He is a monster in the paint.
All right, keep an eye on him too. All right, 4 picks in the second round. So these are names that our listeners should keep an eye on tonight. Jeff, we'll talk to you Saturday.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Jeff Nadu, at Jeff Nadu on Twitter. I love just hearing like the names and then seeing if that ends up with. Stewart is interesting. Washington. Philadelphia and Washington picks haven't worked out too well.
Well, Matisse Thybulle.
That's true.